Hello, you are listening to WUSC-FM in H2 Columbia. I'm Kodak Slack, here interviewing the one and only Olin. As many of you might not know, Olin is one of our biggest fans here at WUSC, and I thought that for Radiothon, we would do an interview so he could talk about his time in radio and what has led him to being so involved in WUSC. So Olin, would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, thanks for having me on, DJ Kodak Slack. I appreciate it. And I have quite a background in radio that goes back even before I was born, because my parents were both graduates with their BA and their MA from the University of South Carolina. And both of them worked with media back at the University of South Carolina, long before there was a College of Journalism and Mass Communications, which is now Information and Technology. And they both worked with the Gamecock and with what was then the Yearbook. They kept on working with media in one way or the other. My dad was newspaper editor of the Columbia Record editorial page. And when he got on television, I said, wow, I can speak. I want to grow up to be a DJ. I was my college general manager at Newberry College, and thoroughly enjoyed doing that so much that my staff at Student Broadcasting in Newberry elected me twice to keep going. I kind of hogged the mic for 3 years. I enjoyed being the station manager, and handed it over after I graduated to one of my very good friends who was also in radio. But after I graduated from Newberry, I spent 14 years at WQXL Radio, which was at that time a contemporary Christian program. And on Sunday nights, we had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we had something called Solid Rock Weekend, where we played rock, contemporary Christian rock. And on Sunday night, we got to let it all hang out with either Olin's music or Matt's music. Co-DJ was Matt Motterson, and we would get on and we would say, okay, we got 1 hour to do whatever we want. 15 minutes of ska, 15 minutes of hardcore, 15 minutes of punk, and 15 minutes of your requests. We had people call in during what we had, and I want you to play something from 1,000 Foot Crutch. And I would say, yeah, you got it. Which one in particular? So my love for doing that after WQXL is talk radio now. But so I don't have any connection right now with the radio station, but I enjoy listening to you guys. Y'all work very hard over at WUSC, and I really can tell when you guys are enjoying what you're doing, because you get into the conversation between the music pieces and talk about that, get excited about it, and y'all are working very, very hard with all the other parts of Garnet Media Group, which I love. And if y'all just keep up the great work the way that you're doing it, I'm gonna pick up the phone and say, DJ Kodak Slack, that was great. Thank you very much. You'll hear the phone ring, and I'll just say, this is Olin. So,
yes, those are my favorite times during my show, when you call and I can talk to you for like a few minutes. That's amazing. Thank you, Olin. We really appreciate it. We're happy that you're enjoying listening to us. Yeah, so
just y'all keep up that great work. If a little bit about why I listen so fervently to WUSC is because back in my high school days, there WUSC was at 91.9 and only 10 watts at that time. I lived out in Forest Acres, and sometimes it was pretty hard to get the station. One of your legal IDs ends by saying all the way to Casey. Sometimes it was hard for it to get all the way out there, but I would set up my FM antenna and aim it toward WUSC. And I heard a couple of guys that I eventually worked with at ETV when I spent some time there, along with Rick Wrigley. And one of the guys who had a very popular radio show in the 70s was the late Kevin Green, whose DJ name was Gervais, and his program was the Musical Mutiny Show. And he would say, all right, Columbia, this is your first taste of Tangerine Dream. Here we go. and that's the first place that I heard folks like Brian Eno as well. And people that I miss a lot too are your alumni DJs. You had a wonderful interview with my former co-worker at ETV, who is still doing Our Generation Radio, and I'm sure that we're going to have Rick Wrigley back on the WUSC airwaves sometime soon.
I hope
so. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And the person who is retired from the airwaves that I miss a lot is Claire DeLune with Blues Moon Radio. Mm-hmm. She's a real musicologist and has taught at the University of South Carolina and does a wonderful job with it. And the person that I really miss, he's passed on, is Mark Livers, who was on for years with the Red Bank Bar and Grill Show on Saturday morning. And his DJ name was Uncle Graham Tupelo. And he got that name from Graham Parsons. And this all leads up to a reason that I listened so much to WUSC is you guys really stepped it up in 2009 by having at the beginning of the school year a special coverage on move-in day. Mm-hmm. And at that point, Will Florence was the station manager, and I thought to myself, but I didn't call him on this. I said, what in the world are you going to do with move-in? Are you going to have somebody walk across the hall, look out the window, and come back on the mic and say, look, a freshman just fell down while moving into Preston? Or are they going to say, okay, this is the route that you need to take? No, they didn't do that. They got on the air with remotes, and they had reporters who were actually out there saying, I'm at the corner of Bull and Green Street, and if you're coming up here and you're going toward Preston, what you need to do is turn around and come the other direction. You can't come up that way. We've got you blocked off. Now, if you're going to be going toward another end of campus, yeah, you can come up that way, but you can only go toward, it was good. They really had folks who were like roaming reporters. First time that I'd heard that. And they preempted Uncle Graham on Saturday morning. And after I listened the whole time, and I even got on my bicycle and I rode up there and I saw the reporters out there and I said, this is great. I love it. And so I happened to see Will, the manager, out there, and I said, Will, this is great, man. Thank you very much for doing this. I really didn't think that it was going to be very, very good, but it's excellent. And y'all have picked up the ball from there. This is 2009, and your station managers have made sure that there are roaming reporters, that you have newsworthy things. And one of the best things, DJ Kodak Slack, that's really working well is the 3 times a week news that you guys have done. And now with different slants on the news, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And y'all are really working hard on that. Keep it up. I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you. I know that the news team has worked really hard to kind of like grow that news slot. And I think this year they're really doing a really good job.
Yes.
So you talked a little bit about your time at Newberry as the station manager there. So how do you think that the station at Newberry compares to USC? Like, are there differences and similarities?
Yeah, and COVID-19 has hurt us very badly. The joke that my on-air buddy Will and I had was this: the name of our program was Almost FM because we piggybacked on AM radio station WKDK, which in Newberry, which was a blessing for us. But we wanted our own FM radio station, and we've got it. We're at 95.5. It's WNIRLP, which means low power. And it's only 10 watts, but it stretches throughout Newberry and beyond. But it's all the robots right now because students are not allowed to go in the studio right now except to do one thing: to clean up and to set the automation. So that, however, the good news is that that y'all have set a precedent. WUSC has set a precedent for so many years, and you have bragged before, rightfully so, other college radio stations want to be like us. Well, I had my first radio show. I think I told you that that Kevin Green's show was called The Musical Mutiny Show. Well, when I started my first show, I named it The Musical Trivia Show, where I'd play a block of songs and say, all right, you've heard the Beatles before, but this is Jackie Lomax. And George Harrison plays guitar on this. And so that's why I threw in my trivia. That way, I followed what was WUSC's policy most of its life, which is non-top 40, non-commercial. And so you would never ever hear the Beatles from me. And I could tell you more funny stories too. When one just popped into my mind is that when my co-DJs, when I was gone, one of my co-DJs came on the air and thought, the general manager is gone. Goody.
Uh-oh.
So he played a version of The Devil Went Down to Georgia by Charlie Daniels, which was a top 40 song. But back then, there were certain words, SOB couldn't be played on the radio. Charlie Daniels' AM radio version was, I told you once, you son of a gun, I'm the best it's ever been. Right. She played the other version. I told you once, you SOB. And so everybody came up to me after I came back from Singers Tour, said, Olin, guess what Phil did?
Uh-oh. Oh.
So I had to say, Phil, not only do I know about that, but guess what? You were gone and I had you on tape so I could listen to you again, but they just saved me a little bit. Phil, I hate to say this, but I'm going to have to take you off the air for 1 week, okay?
Yes.
But yes. I think that y'all have set a wonderful precedent, and it's unfortunate about my alma mater's radio station, but at least we're still on the air. And it's the way that you guys had to go back in March when COVID-19 was so rough. So I really am thankful to the University of South Carolina for sticking by you and working with you, and that you've got hosts that and co-hosts that you can socially distance with, and just keep being careful the way that you guys are doing right now.
Right, yeah. We are very grateful that we're able to like be in the station and like do our shows, because I know that there are a lot of stations that are not so lucky. Like you said, Newberry's on automation. There are a couple other stations that I know people from. They're also on automation, and it's just, I don't know. I can't like imagine my college experience without radio, so I'm really like happy that we can be on air.
Even in professional life, I remember when we went to automation at WQXL radio, it did not always work. Let's just say that I drove away from the station and I heard another hiccup that took us off the air. You do not want to hear the words that I use that you cannot use over the air, or the FCC would have taken us off the air.
So you already told us one funny story from when you were a station manager. Are there any other stories from like your entire career in radio that come to mind, like that are kind of like, I don't know, like interesting to you?
Not specifically at this moment, but as Rick said a few weeks ago when you interviewed him, there is not a perfect show.
Right.
And if there ever is, it's scripted and it loses its human self. Just my favorite saying was when Ken McLeod, who worked with me and pretty much taught me the ropes about getting on the air, and I've shared this with a lot of, quote, baby DJs, unquote, new DJs, that Ken patted me on the back and said, Olin, be yourself, and, you know, don't be nervous just because thousands of people are out there listening to every word you say. Oh, thanks a lot, Ken.
Yeah.
So I will say that with that same inflection to young DJs, and they'll go, okay, thanks a lot, Olin.
Yeah. That's funny. So you brought up like talking to the baby DJs a lot. And I know that a lot of our DJs at the station know that you try to call in to like every show. So what has led you to that like tradition of calling into like most shows?
When you enjoy what you are doing, and that's I will give one example that I remember where I did not call into the DJ, but I was at T-Coop one evening listening to the robots and thinking, well, where's the DJ? Yeah, he's usually scheduled at this time. And I heard the music fade out and 2 seconds of silence. And I heard a voice on saying, no, I just can't do it tonight. I just can't. I'm sorry. And then the music came back on. And so obviously I did not call the station, but later I talked to Ryan, one of the DJs who I knew he had worked with. And I said, Ryan, I heard him come on the air. What happened? And he said, he's moody, Olin. That happens every once in a while. So if somebody is not enjoying what they're doing, or if this does not happen, DJ Kodak Slack, and it sure doesn't happen to you, but if someone were to come on and say, we have 5 songs from 5 artists, and here they are, da-da-da-da-da. Here, you don't want to listen to me, you want to listen to the music, so here you go. Then I won't call in. Not having fun with that. I always hear excitement, because I have the feeling, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your manager Carly would say, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, please don't come in.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but everybody that I hear is excited to be there, and you know, for the young DJs, if they're a little bit nervous, but they're enjoying what they're doing, I'm glad to call and say, keep up the good work. You're on your way.
Yeah, definitely like that encouragement, I think goes a long way, especially with baby DJs.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you this question because I saw on Facebook a couple days ago you posted a picture with a cat. So
Yes.
can you tell us like the backstory and what the name of your new cat is?
Wow. In 4 years ago, one of my neighbors told me, Olin, I'm moving out and I wish you would adopt my cat. And I said, I've already got 2 cats. I really can't do that. And next thing that I knew, my neighbor had moved out and I heard meowing and he had abandoned the cat. So another of my neighbors and I fed him a little bit, but he became a neighborhood cat roaming around a little bit and roaming around quite a bit. And finally, he came back to my apartment unit and I started feeding him. And I said, you're a gray cat. What am I going to name you? Newberry. And he looked up at me and I said, yeah, you're my school colors are scarlet and gray. So this great jet gray cat, then named him Newberry, and he was from the school, and friends of mine said, why don't you call him something like Shaggy or Wolfie or something like that, but not why Newberry? And I said, that's my alma mater, and he's responding to it.
Yeah.
And a neighbor and I took him to the vet, had him neutered, all of his shots done. After he got neutered, he became a loving, beautiful, wonderful, purring cat, and he's eating well and regularly. And when somebody said, how much does he weigh? I got myself on the scales, found 150 pounds, and then I got back on the scales with the cat on there, 165, and I said, my God, this cat's 15 pounds.
Wow.
He's in good health.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know if you saw, but a couple weeks ago, my cat was featured on our blog for the Pets of WSC, and I have like a similar kind of story with her where she was just like roaming around the neighborhood, like nobody knew who she was, and now she's like mine. I think she's in my living room sitting in a box right now. So that's awesome. I love the cat. So what have you been doing in your free time during COVID-19?
Okay. Now I am at the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, have been there for 15 years, and my radio stuff interspersed with that, and I've been full-time for 14 years at the Department of Natural Resources in customer service, and thankfully, when COVID hit and we were told to go home, all I did was to put everything on a flash drive and bring it home and keep working from home. So I'm one of the few who kept on working, and the state of South Carolina hasn't, not only did they not lose one little dime on sending me home, they probably gave me more work to do because we had more stuff that was starting to be done online. And meanwhile, the folks who were back at the office who worked along with me were kind of suffering because I wasn't there and I was doing everything at home. Right. So we are thankfully able to get back to work, socially distance, and do all that stuff. But the good news about working at home is that when I took a break, I could get up on my feet and get out and take a bike ride, and do that within 15 minutes, get back to work. And one thing that I have not shared very much with you or your audience is if you see somebody riding across the horseshoe on a garnet and black bicycle. That's me. I take all my breaks on bicycles, and I commute between Shandon, where I live, and Department of Natural Resources right through the campus every day. So you'll see me every day.
That's awesome. I'm glad you brought up biking, because I wanted to ask, what is the longest distance that you have like traveled on your bike?
When I was a teenager, I would think nothing of going without a patch kit or anything on my Falcon English Racer bicycle all the way up to Camden. That's 40 miles and back in one day.
Wow.
I would nothing of it. I'd just get on that bike and go, and I'd go back roads. I don't know how I made all those trips without getting at least one flat tire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I commute every day, and that's one reason that you'll see me going through campus. And one thing I had a former garnet and black editor who said, "Olin, I got a job in Washington D.C., but I don't need my bicycle anymore. Do you want it?" And I said, "No, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take it. I'll be glad to take it, recondition it, and give it away." And I've had a couple of students who have done that, and a couple of friends who have done that. The reason that happened was that my Falcon got stolen from in front of the Close Hip building. I had it locked up even with a U-bolt. Somebody wanted that so bad that they sawed through the U-bolt. Even
Wow.
it was rough. But so people felt sorry for me, and that's the reason that they said, "Do you want my bicycle?" So I've reconditioned these bikes, and I've given them away to folks. And last one that I did, my band director up at Newberry College put a note out on Facebook saying, "I've got a guy who's walking 10 miles every day into school. Does somebody have a bicycle?" And I wrote right away, and I said, "Look, I got a Huffy bicycle somebody gave me, and I'll be glad to just bring it on up there." I took it up to Newberry and went on a morning group bike ride, biked it up to the college, and left it there at the music building, and got a ride back to my car and drove home.
Wow. That's really cool. That you were able to like pass that along. That was the last question that I had, but did you want to talk about anything else with your career in radio?
You know, radio is something that is, in a nutshell, if you're the owner, then it's a lucrative business. If you're a DJ, it's something that I loved. I never got rich doing it, but I sure did enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I may do it sometime in the future again, but boy, is it good for public speaking.
Definitely.
And that's something that you can use for the rest of your life. And it's just good for your overall communication value.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you so much, Olin, for being here again, and for your continuous support of the station. It's really people like you that has kept us on air and like allow us to do the things we love and share the music that we love. So thank you again.
Thank you, Kodak Slack. You all just keep up the great work that you're doing. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So we're going to go back to our regular programming of the Indy 500.